All right.
I think we got it.
We got it now.
Second time's a charm.
Second time's a charm. Hopefully people find our room
I need a
again.
cocktail after that.
Yeah, boy, the technical side of these things is always a joy.
Super fun.
Yeah. So hopefully people will figure out how to get back in the room. Oh, there we go. Okay, now people are starting to come back, and that's good. We apologize. You would think YouTube would actually be fairly easy to deal with some of these things, but unfortunately, sometimes there's a technical thing, and things don't work.
Yeah.
So just like sometimes when you're playing with other people, things sometimes just don't work.
That's right.
So you just roll with the punches, and you just kind of move forward that way.
Yeah.
So thank you for bearing with us there for a few minutes. Yeah. Okay. So welcome to another Sunday evening.
Yes, welcome.
Of Ask a Swinger Anything. We've done these now a few times.
Yeah.
The last couple of months while everybody was kind of stuck at home doing nothing.
Right.
And now things are starting to open up again, slowly but surely.
Yeah.
We're in Washington, and things are still pretty strict here, but they've opened up slightly, and we actually in the county that we're in, we're labeled the other night.
Oh my gosh!
And it is fascinating how hugging them was just like, what a great feeling that is.
Yeah.
I didn't know how big a deal it was. It was just kind of like, you're like, oh yeah, Matt, come out with us.
I knew, because you're very social. And, as someone who works from home, you don't have, even without all this going, you don't have like the water cooler chat or whatever. So, and you do crave getting to chat with people, which is why we go to the club and do different things.
Yeah.
And so, some friends of mine had invited me over, and I thought it was just a couple of girls hanging out with wine or whatever. And I got there, and they were like, "Where's Matt?" And I was like, "Oh, was I supposed to invite him?"
Ouch.
So I texted him and said, "Hey, get over here." And I, had him come over, and I knew that you needed it just because you didn't really know my friends very well. You've met them a few times, but it was nice just to sit around the campfire and chat and have a beer. And it was.
And see people, that is something that's missing. So we're looking very forward to the club opening up again.
Yeah.
I think it's still a little bit of a way away, unfortunately.
Yeah, we want to make sure everybody's safe.
And the parties, people there.
Yeah.
So that'll be a trick.
But they're still doing the online parties.
Yeah. And actually, if you're interested, next Saturday, Saturday night, they're going to have another big event online, live, using Zoom, and you just go to clubsapphire.net to sign up for it. It's $25 a person, and they're going to have entertainment. I know you're going to be doing some sexy strip teasing or dancing or something.
Yeah, I danced last time. It was super fun. I had 2 different areas that I danced in, and a great cameraman.
Getting the close-ups of all the good spots.
I was in the shower the other day, and
I didn't get a video of that. Sorry, folks.
I was in the shower the other day, and just listening to a random station on Spotify, and there was a song that inspired me, so I think I'm gonna do like a little striptease or something.
Okay, I'm sure the people will have no problem with that.
I'm kind of excited. Burlesque striptease.
Sure, so. and they're gonna have some singing going on, and some other dancing, maybe some burlesque, a couple of different things. So it'll be different than last time, and then different rooms, where they're gonna have trivia and games and all that kind of stuff, and then they're gonna have a sexy room where I know that one, even though the party was like from 9 to 11 last time, like that one went on quite a bit longer than that because people were doing things. Doing adult things.
Adult things.
Yeah. So that's kind of awesome. So I would definitely recommend that if you're looking to do something fun next Saturday night. Just again, go to clubsapphire.net and check that out. Looks like people are saying hello. Hey Ronald. Hey Lewis. Hey Tachi. Thanks. Milk appreciates what you bring to the shot.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that too. Actually, quite a few people do. So what are you drinking tonight?
I went with the classic for me, just a Kentucky Mule. So bourbon and ginger beer and a little bit of lime. I'm a lazy bartender. I like easy, simple drinks. So I don't want to something with like, I'll drink something with like a bunch of ingredients, but I don't want to have to make it. So this is about as complicated as I go.
I understand. And I was having technical issues with the computer setup. So you made my drink for me.
I did.
You made it an amazing tiki glass, and I appreciate the
garnish.
The garnish.
Yeah, because it's got to have garnish.
I'm not sure what that is though. What do you got mixed in there?
Oh, it's blue curacao, rum, and pink lemonade. Again, simple. I just threw it together. It took me longer to do the garnish.
No, I appreciate it. Okay, there's a first question. Okay, so Tachi says, my wife likes to give me BJs while I play with her using different toys. She says she really enjoys it. Do you think it is a way for her to tell me she'll like to have a threesome?
That could be a fantasy of hers, for sure. I think for us, like our first step into having a threesome was me talking to you while we were having sex about like, fantasy, about another woman being in there.
Right.
So that's definitely a stepping stone. You could absolutely broach the subject cautiously.
Well, see, I would think that the question should be, as you're talking to her about this, would be, what is it that she specifically likes about that? So is she imagining anything during that time? She's giving you a BJ, she loves the toy on her. Is it just the vibration, or is she maybe imagining another guy there, another girl there? Is it nothing?
It could just be she's giving you a blowjob and she just wants something.
Want something at the same time. That's true. Because oftentimes oral sex is one-sided.
Yeah.
And
oftentimes, like especially if a woman's giving a blowjob and she goes to completion, oftentimes the man is done after completion.
Time for sleeping.
Roll over.
Time for sleeping. Absolutely.
So at least if you're doing that together and she's getting a little something out of it while he's doing, getting his thing, at least she'll get something.
Okay.
Maybe she doesn't feel comfortable with giving a blowjob and then like he rolls over and falls asleep and then she just plays on her own. Maybe she thinks that's weird or whatever. I don't know. But I don't think. We always talk about communication, how important communication is. So there's nothing wrong with communicating and asking. Maybe, starting off with, tell me about some of your fantasies. What have you thought about? What do you think about when you masturbate? Do you have fantasies that you would like to act out? Or, and you could act those out before you think about going into a club or finding another couple or another person to play with.
Sure.
It's just talking about those fantasies and making them come true through the two of you if it's possible.
Yeah, and fantasies can come true, absolutely, but it really just takes you talking to your significant other and see what she or he is into or might be into. I don't know it off the top of my head, but there's a website that you can go to, and I'll look it up and I'll post it at some point because it's amazing. It's the sex test or something like that, and it's basically like it's 100 questions that that I would fill out individually and you would fill out individually. We put our email addresses in there, and they're questions like, would you be interested in a threesome? Would you be interested in watching another couple have sex? Would you be interested in playing with toys? Would you be interested in swinging, BDSM, being tied up? It goes through like 100 questions of those, and it's just yes or no questions. And then the spouse takes that too. And then any of the questions that they both said yes to, it sends the yeses to both of them so they can start that conversation. Oh, I didn't know you'd be interested in me pissing on you.
Oh, come on, you've been there.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, that would be a no. That would be a no on me, but I know that's a big thing for you. So.
Oh, we're gonna play that game, honey. All right.
So
I don't like to get pissed on. By the way.
No, that's not your thing. But it is nice because everybody has different fantasies. Everybody's all over the place as far as what they're into, and so many people are afraid to broach the subject, especially when it comes to lifestyle. That they just, they don't know how their wife is going to react or their husband's going to react. Are they going to flip out? Are they going to get jealous? Are they going to walk out the door? It's a good way to do that because if you're like, well, I am kind of interested in bringing another woman into bed with us, then that broaches a subject. You can at least talk about it. And if there was a no and you didn't connect with that same yes/no question, then it's probably not for now.
Right.
But maybe the things that you guys did agree on are kind of stepping stones in themselves.
Starting conversations, that's what's important, right? Having good communication with your spouse, with your partner, and starting these conversations, that's where it all begins. And even if your partner is not into the lifestyle or swinging, having those conversations can bring up other things that they might be into that you didn't know that you might be into, whether it's, like BDSM or food play or whatever it is. It's just a good way to broaden your sexual relationship. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we all love sex, and it brings us so much closer together as a couple, that, having that open communication with each other is only a good thing.
Sure. Next question. Fire Mission says, what's the best app or website to organize a neighborhood lifestyle party? Okay, there's kind of it's a fairly broad subject. For years, there were only a handful of sites that were fairly large for lifestyle people to meet each other and date and connect, and they were dating sites, basically, like not like Tinder, but like OkCupid type of thing, but for couples. Swing Lifestyle, SLS, SDC, Cassidy, depending on where you are in the country. And then actually a few years ago, and if you're in the Seattle area, which I know a lot of you are, then it's definitely the best thing to do is actually, if you're a member of Club Sapphire, is to actually go into the back end. They actually have an entire website dedicated to local people that is, you can post sexy pictures, and you can, say, hey, we're not, we're open on Saturday night. Anybody want to get together for a drink or whatever it might be? And people do it like constantly. Like there's a whole bunch of people on there just going, well, maybe not right now as much. Everybody's talking to each other, but I don't know how many people are actually meeting in real life. But I know some people are, because everybody has a different comfort level. So that is kind of nice. Other than that, believe it or not, Facebook it is weird because they have strict settings as far as and that type of thing, but there's a lot of people with lifestyle accounts. Like, for example, our lifestyle account, if you're not friends with us, Matt and Bianca, it's a couples account, and it's just for lifestyle. We have lifestyle friends and that type of thing. So you can do that, and people do that, and they connect with their friends and local people and other swingers that way. And you just meet people, and that's how you start a party, basically, and create an event, or however you would do that usually, and get people going that way. So Milfman says, was there ever a time at a club or a party where Bianca was planning to have sex with a guy and he did something to turn her off? Oh, so many great stories on that one.
Oh, really? You have a story?
My favorite one. There's so many good stories. But the first one popped into my head on the cruise a few years ago. Oh, this is great. Okay, you don't know. There you go. Okay. Okay.
I think I know that.
Okay, so beforehand on the cruises, a lot of lifestyle people will go on the websites and they'll actually connect. Hey, we're going to meet you. We're going to do this type of thing, and we'd love to go out for dinner when we're on the boat. And there was one time there was this absolutely gorgeous couple.
Oh, different story. Okay.
I told you there's a lot of stories. Super hot couple, younger. Or probably early 20s. This was 6 or 7 years ago, but they were probably early 20s. Very young couple. We're usually not. We don't usually do that because red flags generally happen. But this was one where it's like, my eyesight was like, I'm going to ignore red flags. She's super hot, and I'm sure you would thought he was super hot. So we get on the cruise.
He just assumes I go along for the ride.
Yeah, it was a pretty safe bet. And the cruise, we meet them on the pad, what do you call it, the deck, the pool deck, and everyone's dancing and doing their kind of thing, and I'm flirting with her, and it's really, we're connecting really well, and you start flirting with him, you're connecting really well, and they're both super hot, and we're like, this is going to work out well. And
it was topless at the pool.
Yeah.
So he decides to take my breasts and pretend they were puppets talking to each other. Yeah, my heart on was gone at that point. He was like, hey, and I was just stunned. And I think I made some excuses and ran away.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's like the Hong Kong.
You always Hong Kong.
Apparently women do not like the Hong Kong.
No.
Yeah.
No. And we don't.
All women get that look on the Hong Kong. So don't do that.
Don't pretend they're puppets talking to each other as well.
Yeah.
Unless you're trying to get out of it, I guess.
Yeah, it was unfortunately that was how it was going to be. We were just like, she was instantly turned on by the guy.
No, it doesn't matter how big his dick was. How hot he was, how good he was in bed. No. You
do something like that, and it was just so childish, like immature or whatever.
So immature and just like so not a turn on. Like not my thing.
Yeah. How do you balance family and lifestyle? Thank you, Robert.
Good question. For us, I think, well, we have there's so many things to say about that. Right now, we have a child in college and a child that's in high school. And so now we go out probably about twice a month or so.
Go to the club, when everything's normal, at least.
Yeah. So that way we at least have every other weekend where we find something family like to do, or our oldest comes home from college and we do the family thing, once a month or so, or we go out there and
or we do something very vanilla.
Yeah. So for us, especially like for me as a mom, I want to make sure that we are spending that time with them, and making sure that they feel, I don't know, like we have family time. That's really important to me. But it's also very important to have couple time. So oftentimes, like if we go to the club twice a month, we have one family Saturday and then one Saturday where it's just us. Or, we'll go on just regular vanilla dates on like other days as well. But it's just really important for me, because we do have kids at home still, or a kid at home still, to make sure that that time is balanced and make sure that we're not going out and partying every single night or every single weekend, because that's important to me. I think once our youngest goes away, or at least graduates high school, I think that our schedule will open up a bit more. I'm sure we'll still make sure we have time for family, but I won't feel as guilty going out every Saturday night because we have Sunday breakfast and that kind of stuff. So, we do balance that with, if we do go out on Sunday, we usually try to do family time and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just all about scheduling. Really, we put it on our calendar when we're going to clubs or to the club or whatever, so that we can make sure we schedule other time around that. Yeah, our calendar's nuts.
Actually, before I get to the next questions, we kind of got cut off on the last one. I just moved on. What was the other story you were talking about getting turned off?
Oh, the guy who said that he could make everybody and anybody squirt.
Right.
Yeah, no, he just bruised me.
Yeah.
But we never made it to the bedroom because I was too damn bruised.
So I love stories like this, because it's so funny, because some guys, especially when they're new, they have like these single guy tricks, right? And they usually don't last long. The person might not, but they just don't work, because we've seen this one before, and it's almost always by new guys where they're like, hey, did you know, like they'll go up to any girl and be like, do you squirt? And they'll be like, no, I've never done it before. Any girl can squirt, and I can get you to squirt, so I should try. And that actually works sometimes. Girls are
we were new.
We're curious, and like, she's like, I squirted once or something.
You were like, I want to see that.
Yeah, or something, probably. Well, you were also probably intrigued because you had done it a little bit here and there, and so you were just like, if someone knows the trick, then I want to do it, and that wasn't the case at all. Yeah, you got bruised.
Yeah.
You got bruised. But you didn't. You never made it to the bedroom, I guess.
No.
But you were. So that was just like on the pool deck, or was it?
Yeah, it was during a party on the pool deck. They were trying. Sure? Yes.
Oh.
You were there.
I don't remember.
There was a group of like 6 people all around. It was not the best circumstances, but I think all of us went to the playroom after that, and I was just like, I'm gonna stay away from you. So yeah. Okay.
Matt says, what about bi guys? Bi guys in general. We've talked about that on these videos a lot. I'm personally not bi, but I know a lot of guys are, and I know that's still a little bit of there's a negative connotation towards a lot of bi men in lifestyle, but that's kind of going away.
It depends on where you're at.
And it depends on where you're at. Yeah, it was very, very common. And nobody batted an eyelash. On the West Coast, nobody really bats an eyelash. You hear about it a little bit here and there, but in some places, you go into the South or something like that, and it's going to be more of it's talked about negatively, unfortunately. Again, I know a lot of people that are all over the world, and sometimes they just are a little bit more apt to keep it in unless they feel comfortable with whoever they're playing with, or they actually search that out. But I've seen guys that are actually like, they'll get contacted by a couple, and the guy will say, hey, are you bi? And the guy will get mad. And how dare him ask that question of me? I'm a man, and which is so ridiculous, because
I would take it as a compliment.
Sure, but whether you do or not, it's still one of those things where it's like, and I say this all the time. It's like if there was a woman who I didn't connect with, I wasn't attracted to, or whatever it might be, and she wanted to play with me, and I would say no, thank you. That would be the same thing.
Yeah.
It would be the exact same thing.
That's
If it was a guy I wasn't
really
interested in, I would say no, thank you. I mean, no, there's no hard feelings. In fact, like you said, it's a compliment if someone wants to have sex with you. Whether you want to or not is entirely up to you, but it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of bi guys, and like for example, Club Sapphire has once a month on a Friday. They have bi night, which is primarily for bi men, because bisexual women are very, very common in the lifestyle, but bisexual men are a little bit, like I said, a little harder to come by, and there are a lot of guys that want to do things with other guys. So
or meet other like-minded people, or like bi men.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So Tachi says, sharing my wife with another guy would be really hard. I may contemplate the idea with another girl. Is that normal? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, you're saying you would want to have a threesome with another female, but not another male.
Or even share his wife or girlfriend with another guy at all.
See, that is common, yeah.
That's probably one of the most common things for new couples. Sorry, I had to get another drink out of this guy. Yeah, so new couples all the time, and even honestly, when we first got into it too, we were looking for a threesome with another girl. She had that fantasy.
That was before we knew the lifestyle was a thing.
That's right. As many people are, right. And they have this fantasy, bring another girl in. Again, there are a lot of bisexual women of many levels, whatever that might mean, and so it's very, very common, and there seems to be a lot of jealousy, or more jealousy from guys when it comes to being new to a lifestyle, where they're like, oh, I don't want my wife to go run off with another guy. What if his dick is bigger than mine? What if he pleases her better than I do? And women have those issues as well. But there definitely seems to be a lot more of that. Like there's a lot more people that have guys that have problems with that. When you are doing it for a little while, if you find that magical unicorn, which is very, very rare when you're brand new, they call them unicorns for a reason, which is a bisexual woman. New couples are looking for that. They come to the clubs, or they are online or whatever. And they're like, we want to get into this. We want to find a bisexual male that we both can play, a bisexual female that we both can play with. And everybody kind of laughs at them, because that is literally a unicorn, meaning they're very, very rare. They do exist, and there are a lot of them, but when you're new, they're hard to find. And honestly, a lot of unicorns might not want to play with a new couple, because new couples in general have some more red flags. Is there going to be a jealousy issue? Are we going to be in the middle of playing and someone freaks out and screams and runs out of there, or they start physically fighting with each other or whatever? I mean, those stories do happen. So those are the things that, a lot of people that have been in lifestyle, whatever they are, tiptoe around newer couples because of it. And so you just kind of have to be a little aware of that. And then after you've been doing it for a little while, you realize that it really isn't that big a deal, like to have your wife or significant other enjoy another man too. I personally, and I speak for a lot of guys that I talk to, love it when you are being pleasured, whether it's by a woman or a guy, in the fact that you are enjoying yourself. You are enjoying your body. They're enjoying your body. You're enjoying their body. And that's what this is all about.
Right.
More than anything, it's just this form of hedonism that we have, that is just, we only live once, and it's a good way to do it. So you just kind of usually if you're going to be successful in lifestyle, usually you kind of outgrow that and are okay with it.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, of course.
Everybody's journey is different. Whatever reasons you have for getting into the lifestyle, and whatever rules you make up for each other, everybody's journey is different in life right now, and that's okay. And one thing we talk about all the time, and I will always talk about it, is communication. If you start off with saying, you both have this fantasy of having FMF, female, male, female, threesome, two females and a male. You have this threesome, and I feel like you need to have open discussions about and being okay with hearing if your partner says, I want more, or I need more, and figuring out what that means and how it affects your relationship and how it affects your journey within the lifestyle. At some point, they might decide they want more. They might decide they want to bring a man into the bedroom as well and have a foursome, or just have a threesome with another man instead of the woman. And I feel like you need to be open to ideas and listening to your spouse and their needs for sure. Because you don't want to become a selfish journey either, and just having them do all these threesomes for you constantly and you never give back. So it is a give and a take with this lifestyle. And it's just being open with a relationship, but open-minded, and wanting your partner to experience every fantasy and desire within reason that they have in their head. And nobody wants to act out every fantasy, but
yeah, that's true. I'm trying to think if there's any fantasies I haven't particularly acted out yet.
You're way more like you're a slut.
Okay. All right. Okay. Maybe a little bit. All right. Next question. Oh, actually, before we get to the next question, everybody right now, click the like button. Right now, it's a little thumbs up button. Click that, and that means you appreciate what we're doing, and we appreciate that. So, and of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Let's see. Do your children know you're in the lifestyle and how you hide it?
They do know. Well, ish. Our oldest does know everything pretty much. We've never been ones to lie to our kids. We like to be brutally honest with them, but we've always told them, if they're asking a question, do you really want the answer to that? How much truth do you actually want?
Who wants to hear about their parents having sex?
Our oldest just didn't want us to lie to him about where we were going and what we were doing, but he didn't want to know all the details. He actually found us online. He found out that we were doing YouTube videos, and he was like 12, and we had a discussion. He's really an old 12, and now an adult, and he totally approves. He's and as they get older, our kids are finding that, like he was talking about when he was in high school, and there were triads in high school. There were kids that were three together, and kids that were in open relationships. So I think it's becoming more common. More talked about, less taboo than it used to be. I mean, it still has a ways to go, but our youngest is a very young. We're open with him, but
15.
He's pretty clueless, and we don't want to give him more information than he's ready for. So if he were to come up to us and ask some details or ask some questions or whatever, we would absolutely answer them. But we don't go out, and no one wants to know that your parents are having sex in the first place. For all they know, we've done it twice.
That's right.
There's 2 kids.
That's right.
And that's all they need to know. But I want to be honest with them as to why I'm dressed up and going out on a Saturday night like a mermaid.
And a lot of people in the lifestyle do keep it a secret from their kids and their family and their jobs and all of that. And there's very, very good reasons to do that. We started doing these videos let's see, 8 years ago. Because one, there wasn't that much information out there, which was the biggest thing, but also because there are so many people that are afraid to get their faces out there that's we think is kind of is harmful to lifestyle. It's important, but the more people that can come out and say, yeah, this is no big deal. People have different types of relationships. People have different types of marriages. You be you, don't yuck someone else's yum is a very popular term that we like to use, and we hear a lot. And this lifestyle is not for everybody.
No, and we wouldn't want to sell everybody on it.
But it is for a lot of people, more people than you know. You'd be surprised how many people you know that are doing this. But it's still not for everybody, but it is for a lot of people, as lots of types of relationships are, and that's okay. And so we just want to normalize this as much as something that has been taboo forever. It can be normalized. So that's why we do this, because we see people who come to Club Sapphire all the time. Every time we're there, someone comes up to us and they say, we came to the club because we saw that you guys were normal, that we're not the stereotypes of 70s swingers, with the gold chain and key parties and all that kind of stuff. I mean, stuff like that is so outdated because, well, honestly, women control the lifestyle much more than men do.
It's a very, very women-centric hobby.
Yeah. So
women are always in control.
All right, what we got? Let's see. How often do you see older women and younger guys at the club? All the time.
All the time. Yeah.
What's really nice is that the lifestyle is very, very inclusive of everyone.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, bisexual men have a little bit harder time, but that's kind of going out the window. Age is also something that we've seen change quite a bit in the years that we've been doing this. When we first got into it, people were like, you guys are in your 30s and you're doing this? Oh, you're a little young. Most people are in their 50s and some people in their 40s, and that age has gone down and down. And now that we're in our 40s, we're in the middle. I mean, it's amazing. We'll go to the club and there's 21-year-olds there. And they're not acting like 21-year-olds, they're acting like mature couples. Yeah. And it blows my mind. Maybe not the guy who was, playing puppets with your boobs, but that was a few years ago. But there are couples and, like you said, people who come and have threesomes with their friends and all that kind of stuff. And they're in their early 20s. It blows my mind. Yeah. Because you'll see people online or people that are older or whatever that have been in the lifestyle a while saying, young people can never do this because they haven't had the experience of being married for a long time and all of that. And that doesn't even matter anymore because when we got into this, it was definitely an older crowd, and it was also people who had been married for a long period of time. And there's still definitely a lot of that, but there are also couples that we met 2 months ago, and we met online and we flattened with each other and said, yeah, I like to go to sex parties. And the other one's like, me too, or I'd like to do that.
Or they both met at a
or they met at we see that all the time. We see couples all the time that met in bed. Yeah. and they're together or getting married or
And we have seen I don't even know what the oldest couple that we've seen or person that we've seen, but definitely
high 70s or older.
I'm always like, that's just amazing. Like, how amazing is it to be in your 70s or whatever and still be a part of this or become a part of this? We met someone once on a cruise that was probably in his 70s or so. I don't remember. And he said, he had found our videos online and came up and sought us out on the cruise and was like, oh my gosh, like I watched this and your videos and it got a conversation sparking with my wife. And I've been on this, we came on this cruise together and we've never done anything before. And I just had sex last night with someone that wasn't my wife for the first time in 50 years or whatever. Yeah. And he was grinning from ear to ear. And he was just so excited that he and his wife were so happy doing this, that they'd never found this or never whatever. And I swear to you, he was skipping down the promenade deck. Like he was so happy, and just to find something that brings you such joy in this world that we're in, like why not? It doesn't matter. Age is just a number. It doesn't, people get with who they want to get with.
And even if you're too old to actually physically be doing anything, doesn't mean you can't be hanging around with people.
Right.
And I mean, I've known some fairly older folks that probably are past the age of really being able to play, but doesn't mean they can't roll around and do things or.
That's right.
That's right. Or just, one of the big things we talk about all the time is like, play is secondary to the amazing friendships that you get. It's funny. So when we said earlier that we hung out with some vanilla friends the other night, and as we're driving home, we both commented that we had to hold back. Yeah. Because we're so used to almost all of our friends are lifestyle folks. So we can talk about it, and then we can talk about her boob, about that one time that girl had sex with me, and it's like no big deal at all. It's just regular conversations. But like we'll be talking with vanilla friends, and then I'm like, oh, I have a funny quip. Oh, I should not say that because
I think we felt this too, because we didn't have the conversation of where are you at comfortable about being yourself, and I didn't know where you were comfortable, you didn't know where I was comfortable. And when we drove home, again, communication, we talked about you know, oh, I would have been totally fine. I mean, these are yoga friends of mine, you know, dance friends, and I was telling him, if I can't be myself, if they're not going to accept me for who I am, then they're not really good friends. And so that's where we ended up. So next time we'll be like, hey.
Okay, Milfman says, people get in fights. Any good stories about people getting in fights? You know,
see it,
it happens. It happens, which is why I brought it up earlier. And I hear stories from all over the country. You know, somebody got. I mean, that's usually a factor when too much alcohol is involved. So speaking of abuse, okay. That, you know, or a new couple, that they just, this is so much is being bombarded into their brains that they just like can't handle that, and then
jealousy happens,
and then communication doesn't happen, and the wife just disappears and comes back half hour. Oh, I just fucked the guy, and it's like, where did this come from?
I would bet that most fights come from jealousy, and lack of communication, and breaking rules. Those are the three things that, if there's jealousy going on, if you were in a party or a club or something and you're having some jealous feelings, you need to take your partner aside and let them know what's going on, somewhere quiet and private, preferably. And let them know how you're feeling. Don't pretend that you're fine. Don't go drink 5 more shots and pretend that you're okay. Take them aside and talk to them and let them know what's going on in your brain, because they can't read your mind. So if you're having jealousy issues, talk to them. If you're, you should talk before you go to a club or a party and let them know, you know, decide on your rules. What are your rules for tonight? What are your goals of what might happen? Or would it be okay if you played with that person you met last time? Or would, you know, if we were in this type of situation, we would do this all the time. So if we're in this situation, how would you feel? Like, we come up with like all these like things that could happen, and how would you feel and what would you do? And then if we get in that situation, you know, we stick within our rules. I'm not going to go off with someone that I'm not supposed to, or that we haven't discussed or whatever. And breaking rules at a party or a club or something is it's just not a good idea. Stick with what you decided. On the drive home or the next day, if you are wanting to adjust any of your rules, then have a discussion. You know, I really had a great time last night. Would have liked to have, I had the opportunity for this situation, and I wanted to take it, but I knew that these were our rules. And so let's talk about adjusting our rules so that we can allow for this. For example, if you start off in the lifestyle and you just have same room sex with soft swap, so just us in a room with another couple. Once you get comfortable with that, discuss if you would like to go further. Would you like to do same room but switch it up? Talk about it. This is all an evolution, and so figure out what you're comfortable with, and being okay with, I'm comfortable with this, doing it. And if you find that you're not comfortable with that situation, be honest with your partner and say, I need to back off for a minute. I need a break. I need to back off. We need to go back to what we were before, and then see where. So it's a constant evolution, and it's a constant conversation. The minute you stop talking is the minute you're going to run into issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Trucy Lucy actually asked about what we were just talking about a minute ago, about asking if younger couples are less desirable because they're in their late 20s, 2 years in the lifestyle.
I don't think they're less desirable. I think there are other younger couples, so you'll meet up with people your own age. I know that there are people out there that are into younger people.
Sure.
I just think that for some people, there is a concern about maturity and how long you've been in the lifestyle, and jealousy issues and drama. And so I think that if you really put out there that although you're young, you're not into drama, you're not into jealousy and that kind of stuff, like.
And one thing that's really important that she points out all the time is that people can tell that you two love each other.
Yes.
That's a really big thing, because we struggle with that at first. We're a very strong couple, but early on, I was a I was a puppy dog at clubs. I'm like, oh, ooh, look at that girl over there, and I would forget about. No, I wouldn't forget about it, but from her perspective,
I felt completely ignored.
Right,
yeah.
and so and that comes. Not only was she insulted by that, but it also came across to other people too. Where the second that we start, being a very loving couple, that shows, and other people want to approach us, and they're attracted to that, and they see that in itself probably means less or no drama, no matter what age you are. I would also say a big question would be, how comfortable are you with older couples? Whatever older couple means to you. Age, like you had said, age is just a number, but are you okay with someone in their 30s? You're okay with someone in their 40s or 50s? First, I think one of the first couples we played with was, I think she was like 15 years older than me, and that was fine. 13, yeah, and I've played with women that were quite a bit less or more than 13 years younger than me.
Everybody has their preferences too. I'm not particularly attracted to younger men, other than just, eye candy.
And you've had some lousy experiences.
And I've had some bad experiences as well. So, I wouldn't totally say I'd rule them all out. Absolutely not. But they'd have to totally impress me. But so would a 50-year-old man. So, it's all about the personality and how you present yourself as a individual, but also as a couple. Yeah.
Yama says, if you're just getting into the lifestyle, are house parties or clubs better when finding couples to explore with?
I think one of the things we often talk about is going to a club. You kind of have this safety. One of the things we've talked about is, if you do decide to go to a club, getting there early, letting the party build around you, finding a comfortable, getting comfortable with being at the club. Trying not to be wallflowers, get up and talk to people, meet new people, all that kind of stuff. I feel like a club can be less intimidating than a party. I sometimes felt like parties, when I was new in the lifestyle, parties felt really intimidating. All these people know each other and they're all in this big clique, and we're just these new people and we don't know what to do or whatever. And so for me, I think parties felt a little bit more intimidating. Whereas with the club, you can be more off on your own. At the club, you can hide if you're not comfortable yet, if you're just getting into it, you can just be in that sexually charged atmosphere, not feel like you need to perform or go to the back or whatever. And depending on how the party is, a house party, a smaller one, you're gonna, it's with a bunch of people, are they gonna go down to a room and have an orgy, and how are you gonna feel at that point? Whereas at a club, you can go off with your partner, or you can not even have sex. You can just talk to people. I think it just depends on the party. If you can find a large house party, that's less intimidating, I think, than a smaller house party.
Yeah, and you can sneak out of there if you feel super uncomfortable,
right?
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Because the first big house party we went to, we didn't play with anybody other than ourselves.
Each other, yeah.
And it was fine that way, and we felt comfortable being in a situation where people were doing other things that we had never been around ever before. And it was like, okay, we felt comfortable doing that. Let's tiptoe to the next step. Yeah. And that worked out really, really well. Yeah. So, okay. Let's see. Someone asked how they could meet us. Well,
on vacation, or right now, not so much.
Well, right now, not so much. But of course, come to Club Sapphire. I mean, that's the simplest answer there. I mean, we like I said, we're there a few times a month, and we usually do to announce it when we're going to be there. If people, because sometimes people do want to meet us in person, and which is fine. We love it. We love it. Yeah.
I'm lazy. I don't want to get up and talk to you. No, I'm kidding. I'm just shy.
Right. Yeah. So that's definitely the easiest way to do it. Come up to the Seattle area if you're in the area, and of course, the lifestyle trips, and we do go to Hedonism in Jamaica every spring, and we're going on a big event, big lifestyle event to not Belize. We just came from Belize. In
Maldives.
No, Mexico.
Puerto Vallarta.
Thank you. In next spring. So.
And then there's another cruise too.
Yeah, and then there's a big one big one at the end of 2021, which is like the largest cruise ship, one of the largest cruise ships in the world. Yeah. It's like 6,000 people are going to be on this boat. Yeah. It's one of the biggest. So that we booked that one a long time ago because that is just a giant event, and everyone we've probably ever met in the lifestyle will be on that boat. So that'll be kind of awesome that way. So yeah, there's a few different ways to do that. In your opinion, should single guys pursue being bulls in the hot wife cuck lifestyle before trying swinger clubs? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a stepping stone. There's a lot of different ways to go. I don't think as a single guy having a big dick is the end all be all. There are definitely guys who that is their thing. That they will, that they have a fan base, and they come in and they have this ridiculously large dick, and you need to play that guy, you need to play that guy, because that's their thing, and the guy obviously has no problem with that. So that's one way to do it. But as as single guys, there's a lot of ways to do it. You can just kind of just start coming to a club, helping out, coming to, parties, events, that type of thing, and just being a helper. Yeah. So you start meeting people, volunteer, that type of thing. People see that you're not a creepy guy, and then you should be then you'll start to see that someone invites you back to play with them or with the wife or whatever it might be, and then they hear that you're not a creepy guy, and so they will, they'll invite you to the next thing, and you start connecting that way. It looks like our live chat disappeared. Oh, there we go. Oh, there it is. Okay, that scared me for a second there. So, this technical thing. I'm usually a pretty technical guy, but I don't. YouTube's kind of being weird tonight. So, did that answer that question? I think. Have you had sex with single guys?
A couple.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, when you were playing with them, was it they had been in it for a while?
All of them but one.
Okay, and the one that you had experience with? I
did.
Yeah, because he didn't know to act like a single guy in the lifestyle, which isn't a bad thing. They are a dime a dozen. There's no question about that. But if you act like an adult, and you're mature, and you respectful of the husband and the wife. The husband's very important. That you will start to see that it's not impossible as long as you're not creepy, and you don't have this expectation like I'm going to get laid every single time. I know single guys that come to events and they'll bartend and they'll come 10 times to an event before someone finally says, "Hey, let's do this," and then the door has been opened, and but that's how you have to look at it. Don't look at it like I'm coming to the club, I'm going to an event, I'm going to get laid, because you're going to have that time.
There's no guarantee ever that you're going to get laid.
No, in fact, a lot of clubs, when they'll give tours to single guys, they'll actually tell them, like, if your goal tonight is to get laid, leave. There's cheaper ways to do it. There's cheaper ways to get, like, go pick up a prostitute. You're gonna at least have 100% odds of getting laid that night. So kind of keep that in mind. There's nothing wrong with being a single guy in the lifestyle, but it's definitely harder, obviously. So. Yeah. All right, what else we got? Was there ever a time Bianca was not planning to have sex when she went to the club but ended up having sex? If yes, what did that guy do to get her to break that promise?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I'm listening.
Just one of my more recent experiences. I had not planned on having sex that night for no reason other than I just didn't think anything was going to really happen. It wasn't really nothing. There were no fires that were lit or anything, and it was someone I'd known for a while that I didn't even really realize wanted to have sex with me. And he just flat out said it. We were all in a circle having a conversation, and he was like, "Yeah, I've had a crush on you, and I'd really like to go to the back room." And I kind of blushed and was like, "Really?" And he was like, and I'm like, "Okay." So, yeah. I am so oblivious all the time. And I really like a guy to let me know. that he's interested, and not just in words per se, but also, you know, like little touches, or paying attention. You know, this person noticed my drink was low and offered to get me a refill. You know, things like that, you know, like when you were on like a regular date or with your spouse or whatever, the things that you would know or do, or, you know, you're talking and that kind of stuff. Like, I want to know through actions as well as words. I know I'm high maintenance.
I think that's pretty common.
Yeah.
I think a lot of women and men. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's easier to come if a woman just flat out comes up to me, and I mean, I've never talked to her in my life, but I find her physically attractive. I'm gonna be like, okay. But definitely, if someone comes up and they're flirting with me, and they're, you know, touching me, and they're doing all the things that you do that says I am interested, that works way better, and that also makes me hotter. Or, you know, hot and bothered.
Paying attention to body language, you know, is the person touching you? If we're having a conversation and we're really close, and I'm leaning in close because I want to hear you, or touching you, or whatever, that's a good indication of body language that this can move forward. If you're trying to talk to me and I'm like, and moving away, or really paying attention to my drink, or leaving to go to the bathroom constantly, or whatever, that might be an indication that I'm not comfortable with your advances and you should move on, maybe. Or I could just be clueless. I don't know.
Which it could be.
Most
of
the time, I just don't know what.
I
don't know. So, yes.
But yeah, if you're ever trying to hit on her, just be blatantly obvious about it. You'll probably might have better odds.
Not just blatantly.
Well, no,
I want the romance too.
Sure. Romance. Whatever you call it.
I don't know what to call it.
We have to coin a term for that. I don't know what you call romance and lifestyle. But that 5 minute romance, something like that. Frank said, just got on the chat. Hi, Frank. Any idea when the club will open? So we actually just had a meeting about this last week, and as we're talking about everything, you know, and the club owners, you know, they're obviously respecting the laws and all the rules, and but
mindful of keeping everybody safe.
But more importantly is really wanting to make sure that people feel comfortable, people feel safe, people feel clean, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, you know, being within the laws of being in King County, which is the strictest county in the state right now. So
we're working on trying to figure it out, but it'll, you know, but for now we have the on parties.
So, you know, I know they are talking about it'll be most likely, and if you know Washington, level 4 of the different opening levels before, you know, because honestly, less than that is going to be too small of a party. However, I do know they're talking and working on ideas about maybe having an event like in the parking lots, that, you know, the tailgating party, you know, so that people can see each other and they can say hello and all those types of things in person, which is important too. Even if there might not necessarily be play in the background. But as you had mentioned, they are, you know, and we mentioned this at the beginning too, that this coming Saturday, they're having a huge event online. Last time there were something like 70 couples or something like that, and it was a giant Zoom party. So we recommend you joining us next week, because we'll be there on Saturday night. And just go to clubsapphire.net and look that up, and you can buy tickets for it. It's like $25 a person, and totally worth it, because they're going to have people chatting and entertainment and DJ, and she's going to dance and do some fun stuff that people seem to like last time, because you can do a lot more than you can do on YouTube. And so that'll be awesome, and people really liked it. And then of course they had a playroom, you know, secret room. They had to figure out the password to get in via clues and stuff that were going on in the evening, and then people were doing lots of stuff until late in the evening there.
Yeah, so, it was really fun.
Yeah. So that'll be amazing. Yeah. So we hope that you can join us for that. Hey guys, Bob says, just wondering if you two ever do a meet and greet at the club. We do. Like we said earlier, we do come a few times a month, and we usually try to make it, you know, let people know when we're going to be there. What we usually do, we'll usually record a video before it opens and then stay for, you know, quite a few hours afterward. And then we also host a party in the fall. It's usually in the fall. I don't know. You know, this year's everything's kind of all over the place, but in September, October, I think. The mermaids and seamen party. Yes. And she was a mermaid and I was a seaman. and C-Man, and it was amazing, and it was a huge party.
I remember you dressed. Did you? Oh, you dressed up as a merman. That was when we dressed you up as a merman.
Yes, yeah, a Seaman, Seaman, or whatever that means. There are people dressed in Navy outfits, and there are people dressed like mermaids.
Blue in your beard. It was so much fun.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll do that again this fall. But and that's just a time that's just kind of announced. Matt and Bianca are hosting a party, but we're there often. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I want to get in a lifestyle. How can I convince my wife?
Oh, you don't convince her.
Yeah,
there's no convincing in this. It's gentle conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we talked about a little bit earlier in this conversation. Having a conversation about what fantasies are, when you're in the bedroom, or maybe just after sex or something like that. Find a good time when you're alone and you have the time to have a nice conversation about fantasies and what would you like to do in the bedroom, and see where that goes. That's, I think, the best way to start a conversation and go from there, and maybe talk about, if you have a fantasy of a threesome, getting that going. I have this fantasy of another woman, seeing how your partner reacts,
right,
and going from there. But you can't be successful within this community, within this lifestyle, if you cannot have an open, honest, raw conversation with your partner. You just can't. And
it just boils down to just starting out talking about fantasies, talking about what you're into, talking about what your wife's into. It is easiest to have those conversations usually right in the middle of things, because people tend to be a little bit more raw. Doesn't mean she's fucking you and you say, let's get another girl. Let's call my friend. Let's call your sister. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's not going to work. But that, there's oftentimes that, you can be a little bit more open. Like you had said, we started out that way, where it was really in the middle of sex and she's dirty talking to me, and she just started to bring another girl into the conversation, and she could tell that my response was very, very positive. So, maybe it would be, hey, asking your wife to dirty talk for you, and see just kind of where the conversations go. I don't know.
Because after that,
so many ways. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, after we had that dirty talk, and I could see that really interested him, and we were able to, I brought up, would you ever really want to do this for real? And then he was like, and then it became, how do we make this happen? And how do we make this a reality? Do we really want to make this a reality? And there was a lot of conversation before we even knew that we should be conversing about this. There was a lot of conversation about feelings and bringing someone in, and then how to do it. So, if you can't have an open, honest conversation with your partner, there's just no start to this.
Sure. And that's all it takes. Just and slowly but surely.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about you guys as a couple.
Yeah.
Right? And you need to come back to that. And that is the most important thing that you need to cherish within this life. And we really look at this as a hobby, as some people will play tennis. We compare it to that.
But she prefers the balls in her mouth.
Oh my God, really? What do you have? Seriously. That this is a hobby for us. If we had to give up the hobby, you get tennis elbow, you can't play tennis anymore. Okay, you find something else. If something were to happen and we didn't want to do this anymore, this marriage, our communication, this is what's important. It comes back to this always. It comes back to the communication and the love that we have for each other. I mean, we've been together since we were 19. We just celebrated our 23rd wedding anniversary.
24. No, wait, you're right. Sorry. Wait, is that right?
Been together 25 years, married 23 years.
No, 22.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oops.
Tell me.
You told my friend the other night it was 23. That's the reason I know I'm so bad with dates.
Yeah, it's cute when you do it. It's not when I do it. That's it.
Anyways, the point is, it comes back down to us, and this is what's important, and the other stuff is just icing on the cake.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so everybody right now who didn't do it before, click the little thumbs up button, the like button right now on this video. That gets more people to see us and find out about these videos and that type of thing, which is really helpful for us, and we really, really appreciate it. But it does look like we're really kind of about out of time. It does, because these people ask good questions. But we really, really appreciate everybody who watches our videos, everybody who comes to Club Sapphire, everybody who is getting a lifestyle. People have been doing it for years. We love talking to new people. If someone asks if you have a question for us, just kind of put it in the conversation, or under all videos you're able to watch after they're live. It's funny, we get a lot more people watching them long after they're live than the people that are watching them live. And so
because their kids are in the room.
The kids are awake right now. And so don't feel free to ask us anywhere on there in any video, and we'll eventually get to it, or we'll do it in the next one of these because people seem to like these live videos. So so we really appreciate you guys watching us and all these years and stuff like that. So so again, come to the party next Saturday, www.clubsapphire.net, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.